brother. And he said, where are you going? I said, I'm going up to the catwalk to walk the midship. He says, oh yeah, I understand. And then he said, I'll see you out there. So he opened the hatch on the main deck and went out there. And I thought, oh my God, he's going to kill himself. This old guy's going to kill himself because the ship was going like this and like this, and you couldn't see in front of you. You couldn't see 5 feet in front of you. So he went out, closed the door, and by the time I got to the portal that looked out onto the main deck, couldn't see him. I thought, he's been washed overboard. That poor old man. You know, I'm thinking, oh. And of course, I didn't know what to do. I was 17 years old then. I didn't know what to do. I thought, I probably ought to do an alarm. How do you do that? I don't know. So I thought the only thing I could do, nobody else was around, so the only thing I could do was to don rain gear and go to amidships because that's where the officers were. And I thought, well, I'll just tell them that boss went out on the main deck and he probably got washed overboard. So I did this trip to the midships during the hurricane, and it was, you know, the rain was coming sideways. It wasn't going down. It was coming sideways with the wind and everything. And I had a rain slicker on that supposedly protected me, but by the time I got to the other end, I was soaking wet, you know, right down to my skin, just soaking wet. So I went down into the place where the line making would have occurred, and there was boss sitting there saying, "What took you so long?" And he was as dry as a bone. And I'm thinking, how did he do that? Now, well, afterwards I found out that he used to keep a change of clothes amidships. So he went out. He didn't even have rain gear on. He inched along on the lines that had been rigged. It only took him 5 minutes to get amidships, where it took me nearly a half an hour because I was inching along 20 feet up in the air, holding on to these handrails, and I bet you if that ship was still in existence today, my handprints would have still been etched into those handrails. It was
USS Pennsylvania?
USS Pennsylvania Sun.
Pennsylvania Sun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was, you know, I was afraid for his life, and then there he was, sitting there, dry as a bone, doing this stuff. And we ended up spending the whole day there, and not even going back to the mess hall for the crewmen was in the back, you know, was in the back of the ship. We didn't do that. We ate with the officers that day because they didn't want us traveling back and forth.
Oh, how nice of them.
Yeah. I had a lot that, you know, those are the things that I remember for some reason, all of those characters that I met. You know, I met a guy, his name was Pat, and I later found out that I was related to him on my father's side. He was, Pat was short for Pasquale, right? So he was a big, robust guy with a handlebar mustache, jet black hair, and he had tattoos over every surface of his body except for above the neck. So he had a line tattooed on his neck that said "cut a long dotted line."
Yeah.
He had,
really?
He was a sun worshiper. He worked in the engine room down in the depths, where you were nothing but pale white all the time. If you didn't want to be out in the sun, you were always down in the engine room. But he was very, very tan because he would go out on his off times and go out to this deck that we had on the ship and you know, sunbathe. And it was the funniest thing. I used to gawk at him, and I'm sure someone would have said, "Hey, look at that pervert over there looking at that guy." But it was because every part of his body had a tattoo on it, even between his toes. I remember, you know, I never really got a close look at all of them, but I know there were naked women, there were flowers, there were ships, there was all kinds of things that he had tattooed on his body. And it was just the.
He had money to burn, huh?
No, I think it was probably pretty inexpensive back then.
Mm.